What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Gemrate data. It's our most favorite time of the month. Gemrate, doing the hobby's work, has once again blessed us with monthly numbers for all the major grading companies. PSA, CSG/CGC, SGC, and Beckett for us to break down, pontificate on, and put random thoughts into the air. Interesting numbers this month. PSA sets a new all-time record for a single month with basically almost 1.1 million cards graded. And like I said, that is a new all-time high for them in a single month. We do have to put a couple little notes in here when we're if you just peruse these numbers really quick and you see the CCG group, SGC group, and the Beckett group, you see some wild, SGC not so much, but the other two, you see some very wild swings. So let's go ahead and talk about this right off the rip here, and then we'll kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive. CCG/CSG/CGC/ all the C's and G's, their numbers did dip, but they did lose, I believe it was 4 days to the hurricane. Now, Gemrate, and I agree with them, estimated they would still have taken a pretty hefty hit this month, even without the hurricane numbers. So that number is a little overinflated in regards to how big of a drop that they took. But they definitely still took a pretty big hit this month, but not quite as big as it looks. That shows a 67% decrease month over month. They definitely came way down, but it wasn't quite as bad as that number looks. The flip side is true for Beckett. They're up 55%, but keep in mind, last month, their production was low because they switched offices. So this is a little bit of a catch-up month for them, probably back to a normal baseline. So we'll have a better idea once we kind of see maybe next month's numbers. SGC did also lose a day to the hurricane. So they still had a little bit of a drop, not quite a full 8% in theory, anyway, if you assume an extra day of production. But they did have a little bit of a pullback as well this month, probably like 5 or 6% drop. But the 8% number shows a day loss to the hurricane. So once again, kind of keep that in mind as we're kind of working through here. We had some lost days due to hurricane, and we had Beckett with a weird month last month because of the office switch. PSA numbers are just PSA numbers. They're just straight cranking. I could give a little personal update, as I've talked about in other videos. My $18 national order is on its way back to me. It basically took a little under 60 days. That's full days. They got it early August is when it was checked into the system, and it should be back to me within a day or two, hopefully tomorrow. So they are absolutely cranking out orders. SGC still has a pretty quick turnaround time. You're talking days at most. CSG, I personally haven't sent anything for a while, but I know CGC was having pretty quick turnaround times based off what I was seeing when I sent a Marvel card submission in. Beckett, from what I could tell from anecdotal evidence now that they're back in the new office, seems to be running at about 2 to 3 weeks. So right now, everyone has pretty good turnaround times. PSA's $22 bulk, basically bulk service at 60 days or less, which is what it's running right now. It's posted 90 days, but they seem to be running about 2 months. That's pretty quick for PSA. Obviously, there are other places you could go through quicker, but a lot of people, general comments that I hear, and once again, please sound off in the comments down below. Are you willing to wait the extra, let's just call it 6 weeks? Let's assume everyone else, you get your cards back in 2 weeks or less, in some cases even faster. Let's assume for lower end stuff, are you willing to wait the extra 6 weeks to get it back from PSA to have that, brand equity / higher resale price, whatever it is? Are you willing to do that? If a lot of the people are, I believe the other companies are going to continue to feel more pressure. We've already seen, did the video on Saturday, CSG running a 20% off sale, probably partially spurred from how big of a hit that their numbers took. They're probably saying, okay, we got to get cards in the door. Let's give a little bit of a discount, see what happens. Now, PSA did roll out $22 bulk at the beginning of the month. It wasn't exactly like the first day of the month, but it was early in September that news came out. That's probably why, one, CSG took a pretty big hit because they were at $15 bulk beforehand. PSA being only $7 more than that, that's a pretty narrow gap. Now there's turnaround time, stuff like that involved. SGC, I don't know if they took a little hit because of natural attrition or if they just took a little hit because of the PSA thing. They didn't seem to be as affected, but definitely took a tiny hit. And Beckett, once again, it's kind of hard to see what their numbers truly look like. I guess what we could do, let's do this. Let's look at July's numbers for Beckett. So here's Gemrate's monthly posts. Let's see. August was 41K. We knew that was down. Oh, that's right. They made pop report changes in July, so we have no July number. June was 72K, and they were basically running with no issues in June. So 72K to 63K in September, definitely a little bit of a drop there. How much of that was spurred by the PSA bulk prices? I don't really know. I don't see a lot of people sending low-end stuff to Beckett to begin with, but I could be wrong on that. I mean, frankly, I don't see a lot of... I always pose this question when we talk about grading companies. How many BGS/Beckett grading submission videos and grading submission reveal videos do you see floating around the internet compared to all the other companies? Most of them are PSA or SGC with a sprinkling of Beckett and CGC and CSG mixed in. I think we continue to see downward pressure on pricing. Like I said, we've already seen CSG react to, looks like what would be a lower number month and PSA rolling out $22 bulk. I don't think that's the last that we see of these companies tweaking prices. The elephant in the room is SGC. They've been holding their guns on the $30 price point for months longer in some cases than what people thought. I know a lot of different people have talked about this. Some people say, oh, nope, they're fine. They shouldn't change a thing. Other people say, I wish they had a cheaper option. We don't need the fast turnaround time for everything. I've said this multiple times before. I think the win here is that you leave $30 grading as is for normal submissions, but maybe open up a bulk tier at a lower rate. Maybe that gets a little tricky to juggle in regard to maintaining good turnaround times. I know something that Peter said it when he was on the channel. He said it to me when we've talked at the National and stuff. Turnaround times are extremely important for them, and not really having much of a backlog is extremely important for them. And I respect that. I mean, if the way they're turning around cards is great. I don't like their slab for a lot of modern stuff. That's me. That's a personal choice. For vintage, I think it's fantastic. So I don't tend to use them a ton. I previously had used them for some Marvel stuff, but with CGC coming up online with that now, I don't really see much of a need to send anything to any other grading companies other than CGC and PSA when it comes specifically to Marvel anyways, especially with the $15 bulk option. Now, the 20% off sale that CSG is running does not cross over to the CGC side of things, unfortunately. I do not think PSA's current pricing will last. I believe that the $22 will come down. I think they eventually settle in between the $15 and $18 range by the time this is all said and done. That could take a hot minute, though. They have a lot of different levers that they can pull. They could remove, as of right now, you have to be a Collectors Club member to submit bulk at the $22 rate. They could remove that restriction if they wanted to. Get rid of that. That would be one way to open up more submissions coming through. They could lower the minimum. Right now, I believe it's 25 cards. They could drop that to 10 or 15 if they wanted to. Maybe go to a 10 card minimum. Once again, these are all things that they can tweak and adjust without actually changing prices to kind of open things up. And that's basically what they've been doing. As the backlog has been cleared, they're slowly letting in additional waves of people and also maximizing their current profit because they open it up at 22. Cool. A bunch of new people send at 22. Okay, they let that settle in for a little bit. All right, now let's drop down the 10 card minimum. Here comes a whole another wave of people sending in at $22 a card. Then they could say, okay, let's remove the Collectors Club membership. Maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe they do. Let's remove that. Now they get a whole another wave of people sending in. Cool. Then they reset the cycle. Okay, we're going to $18 bulk now, but you have to be a Collectors Club member. And it's a minimum 25 cards. And then they could basically reset that and work its way right back down again. And you let in different waves of people at that price tier, maximizing that price tier before they open up the next one. If they wanted to. I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do, but they have tons of games that they could play if they so choose. The other thing that they have up their sleeve, which we haven't seen for a while, is that they have that lottery system available to them that they ran at the beginning of the year. If they wanted to throw a bone to set registry guys. Hey, if you're working on a set registry, we have 1,000 slots available, 10 card minimum at $10 a card. The lottery is next Wednesday. They could do stuff like that too. Declared value, $100 for just the people that want to send in, random stuff for set registry purposes that aren't looking to grade to immediately maximize a profit and flip. That's a tool that PSA has. Like I said, we've seen CSG do their 20% off sale. Beckett recently ran a sale as well in the month of September, I believe. I think that one was also around 20% off grading fees. These are the types of things that these companies are going to play with to see how demand shifts around. Now, PSA is the elephant in the room. As prices in the market tend to come down on the secondary side and more downward pressure gets put on the card market in general, I think more and more of this stuff is going to flow to PSA if they're priced correctly. The thing that's really going to help that is if PSA can keep their turnaround times in check and maybe even get a little bit faster. Like I said, right now, they're turning bulk submissions around in 60 days. I actually expect that to get a little bit quicker. New Jersey is open, but it's not like fully operational yet. I believe the way I understand it from what I've heard is that's kind of more like a satellite office at this point where they're doing some stuff out of. It's not like the full-blown grading operation that's in California yet, but that will be coming. I've actually heard some people say that they got orders shipped out of New Jersey. So that's interesting. I only saw like 1 or 2 random reports of that on Blowout. So if anyone has a return address of New Jersey on their boxes or tracking shows it comes from New Jersey, definitely let me know in the comments on a video down below for sure. So that is where we sit right now. That is where we sit. PSA, record-breaking month, and rolling out bulk services in the month of September. CSG, given a little bit of a discount, takes a hard hit, even if you factor in the lost production from the hurricane numbers. SGC basically remains flat, small hit. Once again, hurricane numbers to be reflected into that. And Beckett kind of sitting, takes a little bit of a hit, in my opinion, based off what they can do. We've seen them do over 70,000 cards prior. This month, they only put out 63. That 55% increase is a little bit tricky because of the office move last month kind of depressed their numbers. So we should hopefully have a nice clean report at the end of the month of October, and we'll see what that kind of tracks out yet. One other thing I will note, CGC's on the CGC side of things, and I have no idea how many cards it would be. Their numbers are a little under reflected because Marvel stuff is not on their population report yet. They're obviously grading Marvel cards now, but it's going to take them a little bit to get the pop report up and running. So at some point in time, that'll play catch up, but they're actually probably grading a little bit more cards than that on the CGC side. Once again, I have no idea how many. It could only have been 1,000. It could have been a couple thousand. I'm sure it's not tens of thousands yet, but I could see that number going up. So we might get some random spike in their numbers one day when all the Marvel stuff comes online in a month or two, or however long that takes to get the census reports up and running for Marvel stuff. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. We will see how this shakes out. I think PSA continues to be the dominant player. No breaking news there. And they are going to continue to apply a lot of downward pressure on the other companies due to their economy of scales. The secondary market still puts a heavy premium on their stuff. I have not done a comp check for a while. Maybe I'll put that on the list to do once I get back from New York City Comic-Con next week. Do a little bit of a check-in on, who's selling for what and what slab and all that stuff to see if anyone has shifted around or if anything has changed on that. But that's all I have for you guys and girls. Like, comment, subscribe. Go follow Gemrate on Twitter and IG. If you haven't, fantastic data that he puts out on a daily basis. He does daily updates for all these weekly wrap-ups, the whole 9 yards. I absolutely love the monthly ones, obviously, because they make great talking points. So catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.